Welcome adventurers to Scholars and Skeletons. I'm Ryan and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a character sheet. So before you get started, you're going to need to grab a couple of things. You're either going to need the player's handbook or the PDF version online. You're going to need some dice. I'd recommend having a full set of D&D dice and then 4 D6 or 6-sided dice. Then you're going to need your character sheet. I just grabbed mine offline and I printed it off. It's the D&D Adventurers League character sheet. And then you're going to need something to write with. I recommend a pencil in case you make a mistake or you up your stats later on in your campaign and you want to change them. All right, so to get started, you're going to take a look at your character sheet, and I recommend starting with the ability scores. Now, these are going to be the boxes on the left side of your paper. You're going to see a strength box, a dexterity box, a constitution box, an intelligence box, a wisdom box, and a charisma box. So to get started, you're going to take those 6-sided dice, all 4 of them, and you are going to roll all 4 of them at the same time, and you are going to take the 3 highest numbers that you get. You're going to take them to the side, you're going to add them all up, and you're going to write that number down. Just don't worry about the 4th dice, you just want the 3 highest numbers that you get. And then you're going to do that 5 more times, so you have 6 numbers in total. And you are going to assign each one to one of your attributes. Now, I am making a Human Barbarian character, so I'm going to want to put my highest attribute in Strength. So the numbers I rolled were a 15, a 14, a 12, a 10, a 9, and a 6. So I assigned the 15 to Strength, the 14 to Constitution, the 12 to Dexterity, the 10 to Charisma, the 9 to Wisdom, and the 6 to Intelligence, because when you're a barbarian, you don't really need to be intelligent, you just need to be strong. Next, you're going to want to add ability modifiers to your ability scores. This is a little bit complicated, but we're going to throw up a little chart on the screen for it to be a little bit easier for you to understand. So if you have a 10 or an 11 as your ability score, you're going to have +0 for your modifier. If you have 12 through 13, you're going to get +1, 14 through 15, +2, 16 through 17, +3. Basically, every time you go up 2 numbers, you're going to add 1. And if you go down 2 numbers, so if you have less than 10, so let's say you have 9 through 8 or 8 through 9, you're going to have -1. And then 6 through 7 is going to be -2. And every time you go down 2 numbers, you'll subtract 2. But the chart will make it a little bit easier for you to understand. Okay, now that you have those ability modifiers and ability scores, we're going to move on to the next part, which is the race of your character. Like I said, I was creating a human, so I'm going to flip open to page, let's see here, 31. There's a lot of information about humans. I give you examples of names and different backgrounds for different humans. The most important part is going to be on page 31, where it tells you your human traits. So it's going to tell you your ability score, that it increases by 1. So every number that I rolled, so I rolled a 15, a 12, a 6, a 14, a 9, and a 10. I'm basically going to scratch all those out and just +1 to all of them. That's a basic human ability. So that'll bump up my ability modifiers a little bit. It tells you a little bit about humans' ages, their alignments, their size. And then speed is also something important. It says my base walking speed is 30 feet. So I'm going to look in the middle of my paper, and on the top it's going to say speed. So I'm just going to write 30 in there, which is really mostly important for combat. Then it also tells me the languages that humans speak. So on the bottom left of the paper, it's going to say other proficiencies in languages. You're going to want to write down what languages that your character can speak. And it might, like humans, gives you an option to add 1 extra language of your choosing. So you can add a little bit of variation in there. Next, we're going to move on to the class. So I'm a barbarian, so I'm going to go to the class section of the player's handbook, and the barbarian is on page 46. Again, like the race, it gives you a bunch of background information about barbarians, just for role-playing. Next, you're going to want to look at your class's chart. So for the barbarian, it tells you a couple of different things. It tells you what level you're going to unlock certain abilities at. It tells you your proficiency bonus, features, rages, and rage damage. So you guys might not know exactly what those are, so I'm going to go through them a little bit with you. The level, your DM is going to tell you when you level up. And then the proficiency bonus, that's something you're going to want to fill in now. You're going to see it at near the top left of your character sheet. it's probably going to be +2 because that's what all level 1s are. So there in proficiency bonus, you're going to add a +2. What that does for you as a player is it allows you to add 2 to rolls that you make with things or skills that you're proficient in. We'll talk more about that in a minute though. Moving on to features, the Barbarian has a couple different features, Rage and Unarmored Defense. You're going to want to write those in your features and traits section of your character sheet at the bottom right of your paper. I would leave a little bit of space in between so you can describe what they do. I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. And then obviously you'll see rages. You get 2 rages per day or per rest, and then you get rage damage +2. All right, now we're going to move down to the bottom right of page 47, and you're going to see some of your class features. This is where you get your health assigned to you and your proficiencies assigned to you. So hit points, you're going to get hit dice, and you're going to see hit dice are 1d12 per barbarian level. So in the middle of your paper there, beneath your hit points, you're going to see the hit dice box, and you're going to write d12 per level in there, and what that allows you to do is when you're taking a short rest, you can roll a d12 and you can gain health back. Then you're going to see hit points at first level beneath the hit dice section of the player's handbook, and that tells you 12 plus your constitution modifier. So above where you filled in that d12 per level, you are going to go up to the hit points box, and you're going to do 12 plus whatever your constitution modifier is. Mine happens to be 2, so I had 14. That means I have 14 health, basically. And then below that, it tells you how you're going to add more health on as you level up. Moving down to your proficiencies, you're going to see what items your class allows you to use and will benefit you as a barbarian. So you're going to see armor, you're proficient in light armor, medium armor, shields. Your weapons are simple weapons, martial weapons. You are not proficient in any tools. Your saving throws are strength and constitution. And your skills, you can choose 2 from animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. Now I want to explain this a little more to you in case you don't know with the skills and saving throws what it means to be proficient in. So next to where all your ability scores are and your ability modifiers are, you're going to see a lot of different skills and saving throws right above that. What this means is since you are proficient in strength and constitution with your saving throws, in the saving throw box, you'll see little bubbles next to constitution and strength, and you're just going to fill those in, and I'll explain what to do with those in a minute. And then with the skills, you guys get to choose 2 from animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. And I believe I chose intimidation and athletics because that's what a good barbarian would do. Now, we're going to talk about how to fill in the skills in the saving throws chart. This is actually fairly simple. You just want to look at your ability modifiers, and starting at the top of the list, acrobatics, you're going to see in parentheses next to that, it's going to say dex, which stands for dexterity. So in that line there, you're going to write whatever your ability modifier is for dexterity. Mine happens to be 1, so I have 1 in acrobatics. You're going to do the same for everything down that list. So since my modifier is 0 for wisdom, I'd put 0 with everything that has wisdom. My intelligence is -2, so I'd put -2 for everything that deals with intelligence. My strength is +3 for everything with strength, so on and so forth. Now, you're going to see you just bubbled in those bubbles next to the numbers, and you're probably wondering what exactly those do. That allows you to add your proficiency bonus to that number. So let's say athletics, it's strength. My strength modifier is +3, so I'm going to add my proficiency bonus to that, which is +2, giving me a 5 in athletics. So that can be very beneficial depending on what you want your character to do and how you want to do it. So now that we have our saving throws and skills filled out, we are going to move on to the next page in the player's handbook, and we're going to look at our equipment. So you have a little bit of variety and options when you're dealing with your equipment. You start with a couple different things that you get to choose from. With the Barbarian, it's either a great axe or any martial melee weapon. I chose the great axe. Then you can choose from either 2 hand axes or any simple weapon, and I chose the 2 hand axes. And then finally, you get an explorer's pack and 4 javelins. So with all the weapons that you get, you're going to write them in the attacks and spellcasting section. That's right beneath where you filled in the hit dice. So I just wrote great axe, hand axe, and hand axe, since I have 2 hand axes. and we'll fill in the rest of that section later. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about those features that you filled into your features and traits box earlier. Right beneath your equipment in your player's handbook, you're going to see something called Rage. This is basically a standby for spells. Since barbarians can't cast spells, they have something called Rage. You're going to want to read that box just to make sure you know what it does, but basically you have advantages on strength checks and strength saving throws. You can do bonus damage on attacks, and you are resistant to some forms of damage. And then you also got the unarmored defense feature, which basically allows you to up your armor class when you're not wearing armor. And that's a good transition to talk about the armor class. So what you're going to want to do to figure out your armor class, which is on the very top of your paper in the middle, is you are going to take a base number of 10, and then you're going to add your Constitution modifier to that. So my Constitution modifier is +2, so I'm going to have 12 for my armor class. But if I was using the unarmored defense and I didn't have any armor on, it allows me to take 10, add my Dexterity modifier and my Constitution modifier. So that's always an option for you. It would be 13 if I was using my unarmored defense feature. Now that we have all the information on our races and class filled out, we're going to go more to the back of the book on page 121. This is going to be the background section of your character, more where you get to decide the backstory and how your character came to be. This is good for if you want to get more into role-playing and you kind of want to have an interesting backstory for your character. The backgrounds start on page 121 in the player's handbook. I chose to do the criminal background, which is on page 129. This allows me to become proficient in a couple different skills like deception and stealth. So I'm going to go back to my skills chart and I'm going to fill in deception and stealth and just add 2 to those to what I previously had there. It's also going to allow me to become proficient in tools, which is one type of gaming set, and thieves tools. And then it gives me a little bit more equipment. So at the bottom of my page, in the very bottom middle, I'm going to write a crowbar, a set of dark common clothes, including a hood, and a pouch containing 15 gold pieces. Now is where the fun part starts. You can either choose to roll for what type of personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws your character has, or if your DM allows it, you can choose yourself. I personally decided to roll for my personality traits. So I got, let's see, for my personality traits, I chose I always have a plan for what to do when things go wrong. For my ideals, I have freedom. Chains are meant to be broken, as are those who would forge them. For my bonds, I have I'm trying to pay off an old debt I owe to a generous benefactor. For flaws, I have when faced with a choice between money and my friends, I usually choose the money. The main purpose of these are just for role-playing and if you want your character to act a certain way. That's why I said if you want to choose, you can do that. If you want your character to act a certain way or to treat people a certain way, that's always a good choice too. Now we're going to go back to the weapons that you chose earlier. On page 149, you're going to see a weapons chart. That basically tells you how much every weapon is, the damage that it does, the weight, and the properties. So since I chose a great axe, I'm going to find the great axe on the chart. Let's see. Once you find the weapon that you have in your weapons slot, you're going to look for the damage that it does. For the great axe specifically, it's 1d12 slashing. So in the damage/type, I wrote 1d12 slash because I couldn't fit slashing, so I just abbreviated. Then the hand axe, you're going to find that, and mine is 1d6 slashing, and I have 2 of them, so I just wrote that twice. And since I am proficient in the great axe as well as the hand axe, between the name and the damage/type, I'm just going to do +2 and add my proficiency bonus to the attack. So that just gives you a little bit of extra damage, and it gives you incentive to use the items you're proficient in. Next, we're going to talk about the starting gold that your character will have. That is going to be on page 143. Going to be almost at the bottom of the page. You're going to look for your class, which mine is a barbarian. It says you're going to roll 2d4 times 10, and that's the amount of gold that you have, and I ended up getting 60 for that. And finally, if your character started with any armor, you're just going to flip on to the next page, 145, and there's going to be a chart there that tells you the different types of armor and what that does to your armor class. All right, that is basically it for making a character sheet. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, go ahead and leave something in the comments. If you think I made a good character, just let me know. His name is Logan McLovin, based on our fabulous DM, Logan. If you watch the podcast, you know all about him. But thank you guys for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed, I hope you learned something, and I hope you guys can go and play some D&D yourself soon. If you wanted to check it out, we do have the podcast, Scholars and Skeletons. We upload on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Play. We upload on everything, basically. So give us a like if you enjoyed. Thank you very much, and see you next time.